Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Talking Grit is brought to you by the Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events.
Depot Street, truck boy intercept.
Follow them on Facebook, and for $2.99 a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster.
Welcome back to Talking Grit. It's Jason Harwood here with you with Jacob Litton as usual. We're going to wrap up the preseason game after we had a chance to look at the video and tell you our thoughts on that. We're also going to, review the last couple of training camps that the Lions had. I was actually at Monday's training camp, so I took a lot of notes this time. Jacob told me that he would hurt me if I didn't.
Can't wait to hear these notes.
Exactly. The boys were wondering, they're like, how can you read any of that? And I was like, that's what I asked Jacob when I saw his notes.
Yeah.
So I can understand my own handwriting. And I looked through them, and I got lots of things I took notes on. First question I have for Jacob: after reviewing the preseason game film, did anyone else pop for you that, we didn't talk about in our first podcast?
That's the frustrating thing about this is that honestly, when I'm looking back and trying to rewatch plays and stuff like that, I don't think that any of the players that I wanted to jump out really jumped out at me. And, with the way things fell, the Hendon Hooker injury and everything that we've got going on, and the wide receiver 3, competition, I didn't get what I wanted out of the first game. And, trying to look back and analyze even more, I don't think I saw a whole lot of what I was looking for. What about you, though? I know you said you went in depth with it.
Yeah, I looked there. Brodrick Martin had some really nice plays that even some of the stuff that didn't pop on the initial viewing. It's like he almost had that sack. I think Nate Flynn ended up getting the sack on that one. But he made some other really good plays. So that was encouraging to see him be able to shed a block and get in there and stop the run game. And this is not, I don't think this is any different than my initial viewing, but just every time I watch Amik Robertson play, I am thoroughly impressed with how he plays and how sticky he is in coverage, and just going to be a dog out there.
Yeah, the training camp that we saw together, I think it was apparent, like, okay, this guy is here to compete. He's here to play. And he did really well in the practice. And he really showed that in the preseason game as well. So when you have, the Mosley injury, unfortunately, again, because they kind of were battling it out too, I think that Amik's got that starting spot locked down as of right now.
Yeah, I would say that he does. It just remains to be seen what Brian Branch is going to do, but it sounds like they're set on him being in safety. So I think Amik's going to be your starting nickel,
right?
As the season starts, if it started right now. It was kind of interesting that they had so many corners out there. Amik was playing a little later than you would think for starting nickel, but they got to play some of these corners at some point. So, I'm really impressed with them. Someone that we weren't impressed with, however, is Nate Sudfeld. After watching the tape, do you have any thoughts on Nate at all?
I think, the first takeaway was that, man, he really did not have a good game. Didn't look very well. We kind of need to reevaluate everything. After kind of replaying everything, I know we mentioned before the rain had a certain factor in that. It was raining hard. His decision-making also was not on point, and I think he was trying to make something out of nothing, and he just really had a bad game. So I think I'm not really ready to write him off yet, especially now that you've got the Hendon Hooker injury. Now we have to lean on him even more than we, would have before. We really need Nate to be a competent backup quarterback, and I don't know if it's just the wishful thinking in me, but I'm still holding out hope that he's going to be able to do it.
Hendon made the offense go, and mostly because of his legs, because Nate's stuck. If the play breaks down or whatever, he's kind of like Jared Goff. He doesn't really have the ability to run outside the pocket, where Hendon has that ability, and that saved him a couple of times. He checked off his first, his couple reads and then just took off. Obviously, he has a concussion. We don't know exactly when he got that, if that's from the roughing the passer or from, him trucking that safety. We're not really sure when he got it, but I think why the Lions brought Nate Sudfeld back is because I think him and Jared worked well together. It sounds like from just interviews based on last year. That's why I'm making that conclusion. And so, Nate's other job isn't just necessarily to back up him. He's running scout team. He's, coming up with notes for Jared. He's doing all sorts of other things besides just being the backup quarterback. So I'm sure that's why the Lions brought him back. However, God forbid Jared Goff goes down, especially with Hendon having a concussion, he's going to miss a lot of reps, and he needed all the reps, per Dan Campbell himself. He needed all the reps that he could need. So it's not the best situation. However, it all might be, we're hoping Jared stays healthy and it all becomes a moot point anyways.
That also, is kind of one of those things. If he's smart enough and he knows the offense and he knows the way it's supposed to run, if we needed him for a week or two behind our offensive line, if he's got time to throw the ball, is he going to be able to make those plays when we need him to?
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing. You're going to be playing with better receiving. You're going to be playing with better offensive line play. That could make a difference too. I'm not going to say it's going to make him into a Pro Bowler or anything like that, but he might look much more competent with all that help around him. Plus, he's going to have a great running game behind him. So that's always a quarterback's best friend.
For sure.
Some are saying, why aren't we signing Tannehill? What's your thoughts on, just making that switch and getting Tannehill in here? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I heard that also. I don't really like the idea of bringing Tannehill. I don't know how much money that he's asking for, but I'm sure he was asking for more than Fromm. Not that Tannehill is necessarily a bad guy, but you bring in somebody. We signed Jake Fromm. He's somebody that basically is here as a camp body with an outside shot. I would say a very, very outside shot. You'd have to play your butt off here to try to earn a spot. And I think that Fromm knows what it is. I don't know if Tannehill would be able to come in and do the same kind of thing, that Fromm's doing. I think Tannehill's looking for a legitimate chance. He doesn't want to be a camp body.
No, yeah, Tannehill's going to want, he's going to want some assurance, and plus his cost is going to be way higher than Fromm, for sure. Fromm, just looking for a job. God forbid someone gets hurt, he could end up on a practice squad or something like that. He's here for now, and it's mostly just because if Hooker can't play, then basically be Sudfeld, and that'd be our only quarterback, and God forbid he goes down in the preseason game, then who knows who's going to be out there throwing passes, to be like a Brock Purdy situation with the 49ers when he got hurt and you got CMC running out there.
Yeah, right.
Playoff game running quarterbacks. So
as it stands right now, would you, if you're Dan Campbell, would you play Goff in this second preseason game, and how much would you play Sudfeld or Fromm?
I mean, I trust Dan Campbell's judgment on this 100%. With all the injuries that we've been having, it's like you're just asking for trouble. However, if Dan Campbell feels like Jared Goff needs this work, which I don't think he does just because of all the practice, and he's got the same offensive coordinator, mostly the same receiver core, you got the same offensive line, same running back. They've done this before, so I don't think it's necessary for him to play. And from what I saw in training camp, and the couple times that I went, and just from everything that I've read from the beat writers, he's right where they expect him to be, which is, good. So I don't think they need to play him on Saturday at all.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to see him out there. It's unnecessary.
Well, if you're going to play Goff, then you got to play the whole starting offensive line too, because you're not going to put Goff out there with a second string offensive line. You're going to risk someone getting hurt even more. And then, are you going to play the rest of your receivers and stuff like that? I don't know. It just seems, you make that one simple decision, but it's more than that. You're going to have to start more of your starting offensive line. So with all the risks that we've had with injuries, especially this week in practice on Monday. As as we know, there were some pretty scary injuries. So, I don't know. I don't know why you'd take the chance, but I trust Dan Campbell's judgment. If he thinks he needs it, he needs it. But what's your thoughts?
Oh, you made a good point. I feel exactly the same way. I mean, we've got the same offensive coordinator. We're running the same offense. We have a lot of the same guys. It's essentially, our same squad pretty much for the most part coming back. There's no need there. We don't need to get acclimated. There's not any kind of like timing thing they need to get down. There's not like necessarily a whole lot of new formations or new things like that. It just doesn't make sense. We can work on those little things that we have in practice. You don't have to do that in the game.
Hopefully, Hendon comes back and gets some reps in, and we could see how he does, and hopefully he slides this time instead of, going in there shoulder first. But got a lot of fans going that way. But man, it's just, he's going to miss a week of practice, and for him, and possibly a game, and that's very important because once the season gets started, reps are going to be very limited because they're going to be going mostly to Jared.
Right.
All right, so that's probably a wrap up on the first preseason game. So we're going to move on to training camp. It's 2 practices we can talk about. So they had Saturday off, Friday and Saturday off after the game. So their first one was Sunday. The big story of that one was that a lot of starters, and they were down a lot of personnel. So whether they were just getting the regular break or people are injured, are you concerned that so many people had the day off on Sunday?
Well, on Sunday, I wasn't really quite as concerned. Monday kind of changed things. But on Sunday, they had a lot of people sitting out. I feel like there were quite a few that were kind of undisclosed things too, where maybe it was just rest or they had this or that, just kind of playing it safe. Definitely, there were a lot of names on that list. So, it was kind of weird seeing how many people are going to be out. I didn't really think too much of it. But like I said, once Monday came around and the way practice went on Monday, now I feel kind of differently about it. What did you read up on Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday, I just figured they had a game a few days before and they were just giving the guys an extra day of rest. Some of the people that needed it. I'm hoping that's what it amounts to. Dan Campbell will do that, especially what he said. These are the dog days of training camp. They just got done with their first game. Everybody's sore now. They're working through a lot of things, and now's time where you got to push through because, training camp is where, wears thin about right now. You've been practicing banging into everybody, and now you're just going to be banging into your old, your team until you get up to preseason game number 2 on Saturday. So not overly concerned about it, but you're right. The level of concern increased yesterday after, a few of our key players left practice early. So back to Sunday, though, thing that I saw that JMO started to continue with some drops. It kind of goes along with the Dan Campbell thing is, are we just losing focus? JMO just came out camp red hot, and now he had some drops, and not to get anything on Monday, but that kind of continued on Monday. I'm not hitting the panic button, but it's definitely like we need JMO to have a really good, really good year. So I don't really see him lose focus like that.
Right. After how the preseason training camp's been going for him, not really what you want to hear is that we kind of had a bad practice and taken a turn. I know they said he dropped probably 4 or 5 passes or something like that. Sounds like most of them were easy too. It wasn't necessarily like there were too many difficult catches, but he was making difficult catches and dropping the easy ones. He had a very up and down practice on Sunday. Yeah, not what you want to hear, but like you said, we're not hitting the panic button just yet. We're still, based on what he's done so far in this training camp and everything like that, I still expect him to have a huge season. You can't let one practice get in the way of that.
Yeah, it seems like like you said, he's catching the difficult ones and dropping the easy ones, which tells me you're letting your guard down in practice, right? You're not focusing as well when you're letting those easy ones come out. So hopefully it's just a matter of focus. I don't think it has a matter of bad hands or anything like that, but I think that practice makes perfect. We need to focus and practice. So I don't think he's being lazy or being immature or anything. I just think it's one of those things where, hopefully, one of the veteran receivers sidles up to him and says, hey, it's time to get your nose down, or maybe he needs to get on the jugs machine with Amon-Ra before practice.
He probably would benefit from the jugs machine, but he doesn't ever. It doesn't seem like he's like taking reps off. I think I didn't see these plays, I didn't see the drops, but I think a lot of time for him, he's more concerned about the run after the catch, and maybe he's just not looking the ball in. He's not securing the ball before he's ready to try to take off. So maybe that was it. Things he's just got to clean up during practice.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there are some times that he's so dangerous after he gets the ball with his speed that, he's thinking about that first or second move that he's going to do. And, first move you need to think about is bringing that ball down to your chest and catch it.
Right.
Another player that's been a hot topic this preseason has been Jake Bates. Had that kick in New York, made it in the crazy weather that was out there, but then he kicked a 64-yarder in practice on Sunday, so it's a good look for the kid. Seems like after Badgley got hurt, I don't know if he got nervous or whatever, but he had some pretty bad practices, or up and down practices to say the least, but he's made his last few kicks, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, that 64-yarder also looked like it had another 5 or 6 yards on it. Like, it wasn't like it was that close. And we saw in person, the dude definitely has a cannon for a leg. And I think it was Pat McAfee. They were talking about it on the show. And, he's got obviously experience, NFL special teams and everything. He brought up a good point, though, that because we have not signed another kicker, we don't have another kicker on the roster, that he is just kicking these balls pretty much for the entire length of practice. And, maybe that's why when it comes down to the end of the practice, stamina's not there. He's a little bit shakier towards the end. Maybe that's all that is. Are you surprised they still haven't brought in another kicker?
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. For a team that preaches competition, you would think not that you don't have faith in Jake Bates, but, just to, like you said, give him a break, and so he's not doing all the kickoffs and everything. It is kind of surprising to me that they haven't, but we've also had a lot of injuries lately, so it seems like we're filling these roster spots with, other guys so they can play in the preseason game, so we don't have to play the starters so much. But, I don't know. I'm still really surprised they haven't brought one in, but also it doesn't mean that Jake Bates is going to be our kicker, because we went a season, I don't know, it was like 2 years ago, right, that we started the season out without a kicker until, after all the final cuts, and then we signed a kicker.
I don't like that game plan, but right. No, you're right. That doesn't necessarily mean. I kind of wish the kicker that we were using the season was in the building now and that we're actually working on it.
Especially with the new kickoff rule, right? I mean, you're working with all this stuff, and you got to be able to figure that out, because it's a little more complicated than just kicking the ball at the end zone now. You got to hit it in that landing zone. There's a lot of different type of kicks that they could use. So, we'll see how the kickoff rule really affects the games later on, if teams are really going to be doing all these different kicks, or if they finally just going to decide that it's not worth it and just kick it out of bounds and get so who knows, but the league will get their better starting field position, which will increase offense, start out at 30 instead of 25. So
did you see the safety that happened on the kickoff?
No, I did not. What?
I think it was the Chiefs. So they kick the ball, it lands in the end zone, but then it bounces back into the field of play. And, in the past, when it lands in the end zone, it's a dead ball. It's a touchback.
Yeah.
Well, I guess now when it lands in the end zone, it's live still. So it lands in the end zone and rolls back. I guess it bounces back into the field of play. And I don't remember who the returner was, but whoever it was kind of took the ball. They were standing in the end zone. They grabbed the ball and then just kind of kneeled it or went down. And it was a safety because it was a live ball. So it was basically essentially the same as him catching the ball at like the 2-yard line and then running in the end zone and kneeling it.
That's interesting. I thought that it had to land in the landing zone, which is the goal line to the 20. So I guess I'd have to see the play to see how that works. Because I thought it had to be a land in the landing zone, but I don't know.
Evidently, just because it lands in the end zone does not make it a dead ball. But, it's funny that it happened. It's good that it happened in the preseason so that everybody, Dan Campbell said they've watched literally every single kickoff that's happened and they've made notes on everything.
Yeah, that I'd expect nothing less because, it's new for everybody. You got to educate your players on like little rules like that, right? So that's pretty much Sunday seems to be kind of an uneventful practice. But however, Monday I was there. I'm going to turn it over to Jacob. I'm going to let him ask me some questions about what I saw. And it was mostly the offense that I saw. Jacob, there was some one-on-one drills. I'll let you know. But, if I didn't see it or I didn't pay attention to it, I'll certainly let you know. So what questions you got for me?
Wow, I get to pretend to be host. This is fun.
I know. Yeah, pretend. That's the right word, pretend.
We're going to see how good your notes are. I got a lot of questions here. I'm going to know. All right, so let's just start off with the basic one. So you said you looked at mostly offense, but when you first got there, what kind of drills were you looking at right away?
Actually, Jacob, this practice was very similar to the one that we had that we went to on Thursday. A lot of the one-on-one drills where they had receiver, wide receiver, cornerback lined up. And then they also moved over to the drill that we saw where it was basically linebacker, safety trying to tackle someone in drill. So I got to see some more of that. There was 11-on-11s and some red zone drills. So it was, and then they did some kickoff stuff, which I got some notes on that too. So where do you want to start?
Well, let's go to the wide receiver and defensive back, the one-on-ones. Was that right in front of you then, based on where you were sitting? You got a closer look at that?
I got a really good look at it. So I was on the side, whereas when you and I went, we were kind of in an end zone, so we had a certain look. I was on the side this time. So the first one-on-one drill was Terrion and Amon-Ra again, just like how we saw. And Terrion stopped Amon-Ra. They tried to do like a sideline. I'm not sure if there was pass interference. It looked like there was some contact in there. Apparently it was too much contact because Terrion got hurt in that drill. That's the one that he got hurt in. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, he's not out here against Amon-Ra. And then we used the binoculars, found him. He was on the sideline standing there. So it wasn't a cart situation or didn't look dire, but he wasn't back out there. So it was really disappointing to see him out very early in the drills because he didn't give it to the 11-on-11 or anything like that. JMO dropped the pass in one of the first drills. Like it was an easy catch and he just totally just dropped it, which was disappointing. And the next one he went, remember when we went, JMO, we talked about this, Branch lined up against JMO and we were all excited about it. Well, I got to see it.
Oh.
Branch lined up against JMO. JMO caught the ball, but Branch stripped it and just like caused a fumble. So I don't know if it would have been, it was really quick. So I don't know if it had been even in a complete pass or not. But it looked like he caught it and then stripped, he just like tomahawk chopped it and just the ball just came right out. So Branch he's a beast. He's going to be such a good corner. So I'm so glad that we got him.
What'd you see out of Amik and Rakestraw?
Oh, so Rakestraw ended up getting hurt. So I saw a couple plays. He ended up getting, Rakestraw got beat on a couple deep TDs, one by JMO and one by DPJ. So he had fairly good coverage, but Jared Goff had some really good passes. Rakestraw's been really impressive so far, but he did get beat on those couple passes. Branch just, again, he had so much good coverage. And in fact, on one, I think this was against Dries Fountain. He threw it to Dries, and Dries looked like he caught it, but Branch just like stripped it out for the interception.
Just stole it from him.
He's just so close. He just stole it right from him. He had, like I said, with the JMO fumble, he was all over the ball. So he's super impressive. Khalif did beat Amik once on a deep throw, but Goff overshot Khalif in the end zone, so he didn't catch it. But Amik did shut down Caden Davis another time. So Amik was impressive on his drills. Just like I've seen through all, but Branch by far probably had the best from the start to finish, just most competitive. So glad we got that guy.
Right. Good to see him back out there, full speed and everything too.
Yep.
So what about next drill? You said they had the open field tackling. I know that was really cool to see live. Did anybody stand out there?
Yeah. So I will tell you that my view was obstructed by the players since I was on the side.
Okay, yeah.
For whatever reason, the players were down there. We could see some of it, and I'm telling you, David Montgomery is going to have a heck of a season. He just, even in the 11 on 11s, David Montgomery just looked like he's a man on the mission. He's going to have a good year this year. He made Campbell look silly again.
Man, they had Campbell on him again.
I know. I saw it and I was like, oh my God, this is like deja vu. I've seen this. And yeah, he made him look silly. So I didn't get a great look on a lot of them, but it looked like the defense was showing out a little bit better than they did in the drill that we saw. So I was encouraged by some better open field tackling. I mean, it's a tough drill. And when you got guys like, Gibbs and JMO, I mean, JMO was every time he would, score the touchdown or whatever, get past the defender, he threw the ball way up in the air. So they were jawing against each other. It was fun. I think they like running these drills, the defense and offense.
It's the best part of playing football. Obviously, it's a team sport, but when you're practicing, it's one-on-one. It's me versus you, especially when you've got everybody watching.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, especially your teammates, and, you got some talkers in that group,
right,
for sure.
Right.
All right. What else you got for me?
What other drill did you say you saw? Was it kickoff? Was that the other main one?
Yeah, I saw a
Anything
kickoff.
new or anything different?
Not really. It was very similar. The only thing I will tell you that they had two return teams out there. I think the first one I saw was Jalen Calhoun, and I think Caden Davis might have been out there. That was the first two, but I think why the second team that come out there and what I think is going to be the kickoff return team is Vaki and Khalif Raymond. So they ended up doing like 4 kickoffs. So each return guy got the return one. So the backup kickoff guys are I think that was more for practice of Jake Bates. And then they brought Khalif and Vaki in there. And Vaki, they both got to return the kick. Vaki looked good. I think he kind of got through the line further than Khalif did. It looks like a lot of the returns from what I'm seeing, are going to be between the 25 and 30-yard line is when you're going to get your first bit of contact. So I think that, it's going to be above the 25-yard line. I think they're going to, is when you're going to see contact. We'll see. They might change the kicks, but just from what I've seen and a lot of the kickoffs in the preseason and just practice, it's like that's where contact's going to be made.
Well, because they can't move also. I mean, you kind of have that first you get to get running full speed before they get up there. Vaki definitely would be good as a returner, but I also think he'd be valuable as getting a lead block in too. And I think if you have Khalif back there, he might be decent as returning, but I'm not sure how effective he would be, being your second guy if he's the one got to run and make that lane for you.
I will say, just because it goes along with this, Vaki was out there returning punts too. He's definitely got spot on special teams locked up. Vaki is what I'm talking about. So we'll see. See if I still think it's going to be Khalif returning punts probably, and Vaki and Khalif are going to be on the kickoff return. Which, if that happens, then that's not good for Maurice Alexander's opportunity to stick on the team, because Maurice was your kickoff return guy, and now Khalif might be taking that too.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't really been effective in the passing game so far. We haven't really seen a whole lot out of him. And I think you got to be able to do both if you're going to be getting a spot.
I agree.
So I guess outside of like the individual drills and everything like that, once you got to the teamwork, I kind of mentioned this last time, but I know when I went there, it was kind of like, who's going to stand out? Who's going to jump out? Who am I going to be like, man, who is that? Let me look. Let me see what number that was. Was there anybody consistently doing that for you on that day?
Not really. Wide receiver 3. I noticed that they're running DPJ a little more with the ones. So I did see him out there. So if anything stuck out to me, it was that they're giving him more of a chance. But I think that's just a matter of no one's really just taking this wide receiver 3 position and just running with it, which is unfortunate. Darius Fountain had some drops, so that's not good for him. You're going to have to show that you did better in DPJ. I know that I just think he's going to be a more reliable option if you're going to have, because you got a guy with a lot of history and a guy with, not a lot of history. So you're going to take the more trustworthy option. Darius Fountain's going to outplay him. Caden Davis, I didn't really notice much from him. I know that he had some plays in the joint practices last week. They did have him out there. It's like they're running everybody for that wide receiver 3 position, waiting for someone to take hold. DBJ did catch a deep touchdown pass in the one-on-ones. I believe I have him he caught some passes in the 11-on-11s too, but nothing spectacular. I did have, Darius Fountain had a nice catch I have noted in here, but he also had some drops, like I said. I thought Goff looked good. He was making good decisions. He was also talking with Darius Fountain a lot in between like plays or when they were setting up stuff. I noticed that Darius Fountain was a lot around Jared Goff a lot. When they did run the ball with David Montgomery, he looked really, really good. And it's hard to tell because they're not doing full, they're not tackling or anything like that. So it's hard to tell, but he's consistently getting through that first line and making people miss.
Right. That's good to see. Always. He definitely has been on a tear. I've kind of heard, from the reports and everything, plus what Dan Campbell's been saying, that it looks like Donovan Peoples-Jones has been improving. He's been doing, what's asked of him. A week ago before the preseason game, when we saw Fountain and everything, it really looked like Fountain had the fast track, like he was going to earn that spot. And then the inconsistency already started. He's been dropping passes. He's not, been hitting the same way. That wide receiver 3 spot's so up and down. Unfortunately, Antoine Green in the game got hurt, concussion / neck injury maybe. But it was bad enough that they ended up having to waive him. And, now he's out. He did clear waivers. So he's back on injured reserve, I believe is what they said. Maybe there's an injury settlement or something afterward. But, so that's one guy missing. So now really it looks like it's DPJ and Fountain that are fighting for that spot right there. I guess whoever loses a spot can't say it's for lack of having the chance. It seems like they're definitely giving a fair shake and a fair number of opportunities with the ones to try to make an impact.
Yeah, I agree. I think DPJ was getting short-changed previously because they pretty much had Darius Fountain up there. We talked with Justin Rogers about this. Was it a matter of they really wanted Darius Fountain up there, or they were just going to see, give him the best shot because they already know kind of what they have with DPJ. He's been in the league longer. They kind of knew what to expect from him. So let's just see what this other guy can give. And I kind of getting the feeling now that it's switching back so we'll see. I assume he's going to be playing earlier in the game because I don't believe he got a lot of early reps in the New York Giants game. So I bet you he'll get some earlier reps on Saturday. So we'll see how that goes. I will tell you that one guy that I did notice on the field a lot was Parker Hesse, and our tight end. He was playing fullback a lot.
Okay.
And so we don't have a fullback on this team, and they had him out there doing fullback. So that could speak to him making this team, as a, third or fourth tight end, more likely fourth tight end with, that, but they can use him as a fullback. So interesting, but I did notice him first and second team running out as a fullback.
That's actually really cool and very interesting. I'm not sure about keeping 4 tight ends, but I guess if he's, proving useful on, several sides of the ball and doing several things, that's potential kickoff coverage and everything too.
Right.
Special teams players aren't just special teams. They got to have value everywhere. So, good to see that he's really doing what's asked of him and, trying to earn that spot.
Well, Dan Campbell's called him out a couple of times just for him showing out in practice. They're giving him more than the opportunity, so I'm pretty happy about that. It's fullback. Don't use it that much. So it was a pretty good practice, although, like we alluded to earlier, the injuries took a, damper, Rakestraw, Gibbs, Darion, all going down. So it was...
all 3 massive names that you do not want to see on the injury report.
I know. Exactly. And it was, the Gibbs one, I just noticed he wasn't out there, but like sometimes with Gibbs, they're putting him all in so many different spots. I was thinking, well, maybe I missed him lining up as a wide receiver because they had Montgomery out there a lot in the halfback position. So I was like, maybe I missed Gibbs out there as a wide receiver because we're sitting on the side. And if they got, especially as they got towards the other goal line, it was, especially with all the players, there's 90 players out there. It's sometimes difficult to see everything that's going on at the angle I was seeing. So those doesn't sound like those injuries are too serious. We don't know anything about the Gibbs one yet, but from the reports that I've seen, sounds like Rakestraw and Terriano, won't miss any time, in the regular season because of it.
Yeah, there's still a lot up in the air about Gibbs. I mean, right away, there's a lot of speculation and a lot of reports coming out without any facts. So it's very concerning for a little while. Like, man, what is going on? Constantly refreshing Twitter or trying to just see some sort of update. And it never came. We don't really know the extent of what's going on. I mean, kind of what I'm hearing now is that they're probably going to hold him out and not let him play anymore in the preseason, but they should be ready to go for week 1. But that's not confirmed by the team at all that I've seen. This is all just speculation. But we do have a very long list of guys that we've lost and guys that are out for the year. Are you concerned about the injuries? Do you feel like obviously it's just football. I don't feel like it's anything that we're doing at practice any differently. How do you feel about it?
I don't want to see anybody injured. So
No.
I feel terrible about it. Kaminsky's one that's painful. It's like, I like him as a player, and he's just one of those glue guys that you like having him around. It's not as devastating as, say, Aleem gets hurt or something like that on the line. That would be devastating.
Why would you even say that?
Well, because
Knock
whatever I
on
say.
wood. You were at the practice
Okay.
when all these guys start dropping like flies. I don't want you to speak it into existence.
It might be me. You're right. It might be me. But no, I'm not happy about it. I'm not overly concerned. I don't think it's anything they're doing in practice or anything like that. I just, it's football. Injuries happen.
Right.
We're just lucky that it hasn't hit, our starters for the most part. Mosley, withstanding that could have been a starter possibly. Get all these guys back and, hopefully in time for week 1. That's what we need. So hopefully that happens.
Right. Just feel for some of these guys. Antoine was fighting for a spot. Now he's cut. He's injured. Connor Galvin was fighting for a spot. He's cut. He's out. Duron Gilbert, local kid. He's hurt. He's out. Nate Lynn actually looked really good, obviously in limited timers reserve. He's hurt. Moody's out. Obviously you had Badgley. David Bada, the defensive tackle. I mean, these guys were all fighting for a spot and actually were all playing decently well. I mean, they were, giving it their all, and I think they were doing a good job. Just killer to be cut short like that.
I know they work so hard to get their opportunity, and then just an injury just takes it away just like that. And now they got to wait a whole year and they got to do rehab and all this stuff. So it's devastating. I feel for each one of those guys, but it's football. It happens. So.
Right.
All right. So what are you looking forward to in preseason game number 2? Is there anything you're going to be keeping your eye on?
I really just hope that they give Sudfeld at least a full half. Try to work the offense, try to move, see what he's got. Hopefully give these receivers some passes, something to catch, try to make some sort of an impact. You got to show us something here. That's really all I'm looking forward to, is just trying to see the way the offense moves the ball. I think the defense has been pretty good. The defensive line is always fun to see. With our corners, obviously Terrion and Ennis having those injuries, I don't know that they're going to keep them out as precaution, or, they need that game time, but at the same time, we also are going to need them for the regular season. What are you most looking forward to?
There's a few people, like I mentioned earlier, Brodrick Martin. I want to see how he plays again. Different offensive line, see how he does. Same thing with Wingo. You kind of said, it's really interesting to see this defensive line. I like the coach that they have there. All the players rave about our, Coach Williams. So I think I'm excited about those guys. Ukwa is another one that I'm excited to see. He had a really good game the first game, so I'm curious how he's going to turn out. But on the offensive side, Shane Zylstra is actually a guy that I've been watching. He's had a pretty good practice yesterday, and he made a really nice one-handed catch in the end zone. And he also, with the practice that we went to, Jacob, he had caught that laser from Hendon Hooker. So he actually showed me some stuff. So we'll see if he can make the team or not. But I'm kind of actually interested to see how he does. As far as Nate Sudfeld, I just hope he just takes some risk and hit some medium shots instead of just checking down all the time. He has nothing to lose at this point. Trust yourself, get the ball out, and, trust your reads. I know he knows the offense. He's been in it for a while, so I just want him to see some better passes so we could get some really good look at these wide receivers.
Right. I kind of, compare that to a boxer where instead of fighting to win, you're fighting not to lose. So instead of you trying to take these deep shots and these, haymakers and everything like that, or trying to make impact plays, you're trying to play it safe. You're trying to check down. You're trying, to not throw any interceptions. And then, even if you go 3 and out, all 6 drives that you get, we don't want that. We need to see the ball moving. We need the receivers to get a shot, like you said. So definitely somebody that I'm watching.
Yeah, it was interesting because even in that Giants game, he's playing conservative, checking down, and then that play he threw that ball like back over, across his body, and then it was intercepted. So it's like, you're playing it safe, and then you make a play like that. Just trust your reads and make the play, and don't hold on to the ball too long because he doesn't have the escapability that Hendon has. So
yeah, that was uncharacteristic, him rolling out like that and then throwing across his body into triple coverage. I mean,
I think it was 4th down though, so he's probably just got to get rid of it.
Something.
But it just seems. I mean, it was a terrible throw. So
yeah, right.
The people that sat behind me in the practice yesterday were not Nate Sudfeld fans. They just, want to cut him instantly. And I don't really get that sentiment. I'm not impressed with his play. But at the same time, you're going to have Jake Fromm just come in. There aren't quarterbacks just sitting on the street that are much better than Nate Sudfeld. I can tell you that.
Right.
So, we talked about one guy, Tannehill, but he probably wants a lot more money. And is that going to be worth it? And how's he going to gel with the team? Who knows? Tannehill probably still wants to start somewhat. So, it's a tough thing to bring a player like that. That's why you bring in a guy like Nate Sudfeld that's been with the team, and how he's going to, he's not going to ruffle feathers. He's going to come in here and try to do his job.
Exactly. There's a lot more to being a backup quarterback other than, just playing quarterback, other than just being out there and, you don't necessarily need somebody who's going to be competing with Goff and trying to win the starting position. We want somebody that, like you kind of said earlier, is running the scout team. He's helping the quarterback out. That's why you see there's quite a few, people who are just career backup quarterbacks because they're really good at knowing the offense. They're good at helping the team, helping the scout team. I think Chad Henne played in the NFL for 15 years, and he was consistently a backup. He was just good at what he did. I think Chase Daniel kind of did the same thing.
All right, we'll see about getting the post-game pod that we had for the preseason one went really well. So I'm thinking, we're going to probably try to do the same thing for this one on Saturday. So our work schedules may interfere with it a little bit, but we're going to make it happen. So you got that to look forward to. But what you have to look forward to right now is another edition of the Honolulu Blitz.
It's time for the Honolulu Blitz.
Jacob, who was the last quarterback to start for the Lions that wasn't Jared Goff?
Hang on here. Was it David Blau?
Nope. It is Timmy Boyle. There was one game last season that either Montgomery or Gibbs did not lead the team in rushing. Who led the team in rushing that game?
Was it J-Mo?
Nope. It's a good guess, though. It was Craig Reynolds.
Craig Reynolds led the team in rushing. And what game was that?
Yeah. And that would be the Tampa Bay game when Demo was hurt, and I think Gibbs was already out.
Yeah.
So. But he led it with a hefty 15 yards of rushing.
Okay, that's that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, Goff carried us that game, like literally carried us that game. So, Craig, along with that 15 yards rushing, had the block of the year.
Yeah,
too,
right.
So,
shouts out to Craig.
So sticking with the rushing game, how many games did the Lions have a 100-yard rusher last season?
14.
14? No, 5. They only had 5 games with a 100-yard rusher. I'm saying
That was a trick
individual
question.
100-yard
I would
rusher.
like you to research how many games they had 100-yard rushing.
Yeah, that's pretty much 14 probably sounds about right. Week 4, Demo had 121. Week 5 against Carolina, Demo again had 109. Gibbs had the 152-yard game against the Raiders. Back to Demo at 116 versus the Chargers, and then Gibbs had a game against Denver. So
You got a shake and bake thing going on. I wasn't thinking about individual.
yeah, so they kind of split the time. What is the weakest division in football? I've asked you the strongest division. What do you think the weakest division is?
I guess I'm going to say NFC South.
NFC South. It's probably pretty accurate.
I mean, potentially the winner of that division is going to be hovering around or below 500. So
it depends on how the Falcons do. The Falcons could surprise, but I don't.
That's what they said last year.
You're probably right with that. Yeah, that's true. But now they got Kirk Cousins down there, man.
That was the first
Michael
one that popped in
Penix.
my head, and like now that I'm trying to think more, I don't see a weaker one. I mean, what other one do you think?
The only one that I could see is the AFC West. You got the
Just 'cause
Chiefs,
the
obviously very good.
Broncos,
But you
Raiders.
got Raiders and the Chargers too. I mean, Chargers got rid of a lot of players, so that, and I don't know.
New coaching staff.
New coaching staff. So I would say that they're probably
That's fair.
They're so top heavy though, because I mean, Mahomes, the Super Bowl champion. But as far as like competition throughout, I'm not sure. Raiders didn't solve their quarterback issue, so they could, especially with their coach. I think that they got a good coach there. They could surprise, but I just think they're going to suffer with quarterback play.
Yeah, I think if you had a choice, you would rather play the NFC South winner than the AFC West winner.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Good analysis. All right, last question. What's your favorite sport to play?
Oh man, that's tough. I play all sports. It kind of rotates between what time of the year it is, really. Oh God, man. This is my life. These are all my loves. Oh man, that's really hard. I guess baseball. Baseball's been around the longest. And the season goes on the longest. It's, I guess I would have to say baseball. Baseball, basketball, and football, though, all take their turns.
It's good. All right. I stumped you almost. All right. My turn.
That was a tough one. Yeah. All right. Okay. Who was the last rookie quarterback to start for the Lions? Don't worry, guys. He's going to edit out this part where he's thinking about it and make it sound like he thought of it right away.
No. I mean, was it Stafford?
No. So actually, David Blau, as a rookie, started 5 games in 2019.
Oh, I didn't realize that was his rookie year.
I didn't either. And, I happened to be looking up Lion stuff and I was like, wow, I did not realize. And then I put that on here just to remind me later. So that's a great question to ask Jason.
It is. All right.
All right. Who was the last player to score a touchdown for us last year?
Just playoffs?
Yeah, just the last touchdown of the season.
It had to be J-Mo.
It was.
Yeah, he had that nice catch in
the short catch towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
All right. What player holds the Lions record for most fumbles in a season?
Oh.
I'll let you give an answer. If it's not right, I'll start giving some hints because this is...
You said Lions player. Okay, so it could be anybody. Wow. I'm going to say Barry just because he carried the ball so much that he didn't fumble a lot, but...
That makes sense. It wasn't Barry, though. So this happened in 2007.
All right. Who was our team in 7? Give me another...
Quarterback.
Give me another hint. Quarterback, okay. No. 7. No, that would be after. That'd be after Kitten. Yeah, I don't know.
No, you had it.
Who Was it?
was
Kidna? Oh, really? Okay.
So in
Oh, yeah, because Stafford would have been
Stafford
9
was
or
the next,
10, right?
yeah.
So, yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right,
So in
Kidna. All
2007,
right.
John Kidna had 17 fumbles,
17?
which
Oh my
seems
God.
insane, right? Do you know what the record is for
Yeah.
fumbles in a season?
No.
I didn't put the year on here, but I want to say it was hovering around like 2000 or 2001. It was Kerry Collins, and he fumbled the ball 28 times
28
in a
times. That's like
16-game season.
it's almost 2 a game. That's
It's
crazy.
insane, right? Yeah, I thought 17 was bad, so I had to look up the record, and I was wrong. It gets much worse.
Wow.
All right,
28.
couple opinion questions here.
All
right, listen up. Would you rather the Lions win the Super Bowl this year, but then we can't win another playoff game for 30 more years? Or would you rather them make the playoffs the next 5 seasons, but no Super Bowl?
Got to go with the Super Bowl. I don't want to go 30 years without a playoff win. That was challenging, but no, got to get the Super Bowl, and then we can live with the consequences later on.
Right. It's hypothetical. It's not going to happen. We'll win the Super Bowl, and the dynasty will stay relevant. But I just want to put it out
We
there.
have a long window. Yeah, our long window, but yeah.
For sure. Okay, last one. Which of these is more likely? You currently, right now, what's more likely? You hold Amon-Ra to less than 200 yards receiving during a game, or you gain more than 15 yards rushing against the current Lions defense?
Oh my God.
I'm going to say that neither is possible, but if you had to bet, which one was more likely?
Oh my God. I would say there's no way I could even guard Amon-Ra. He would juke me out of it.
But you're going to survive one tackle.
I don't know if we have the Lions offensive line, I think that they could maybe give me a crease where I could get, a couple yards at a time.
You just have to slide every time.
Yeah. I
the
just
first
stand
tackle,
right behind
you're
Panay.
out. Broken hip.
I just stand right behind Panay, and he just becomes my lead blocker, and I just stand behind him. Jump on his back, and he can carry me into the end zone.
Nice.
All right. So pretty good stuff. So want to thank everyone for listening. This has been fun. Jacob and I back. We had a beat writer on here. We had Justin Rogers, who I want to thank again for coming on the podcast. That was super cool, super fun for us. I got to meet him yesterday. I didn't tell you about that, Jacob. I actually went over and talked with him for 10, 15 minutes. So he was just as cool that he was on the podcast when I met him yesterday. He did tell me, he goes, it's a good thing we called when we did, because when he got into Pennsylvania, he dropped a ton of calls that he was making.
I'm glad we got it out of the way.
Luckily we got it out of the way early. So worked out for his schedule and our schedule, apparently. So thank everybody for listening. This has been fun. We're inching closer to the regular season when we can really have a lot of, stuff to talk about, and just stuff of consequence as opposed to looking into the future. So let's hope for some healthy Lions, no more injuries this week, and I might leave it right there. All right, go Lions.